Somewhere, an electric chair is waiting.
Say, listen, Ollie wants to take us out tonight to celebrate our university.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sons of the desert. A little bit of a breakaway from what we're normally used to. It's 30 years since we started doing this nonsense, and we thought we'd just get our heads together and have a little chat about what we can remember about the last 30. How it started, how it went, and where it's going to. Because I'm sure that we'll be doing this again in another 30 years' time.
We certainly will.
We'll all be here, won't we?
Yeah, we certainly will.
Cheers. Cheers, everyone.
I feel bad drinking orange, but I'm driving, so come on.
Norman.
Yes.
Do you remember how the Laurel HarDay came about?
We had a meeting in Manchester with Chris. We had our meeting in Manchester. I used to drive him back to St Helens with the equipment, and he said, "Oh, we're going to have a one-day convention. The plan is that we're going to have people with rarities, because them days in the 90s, people had little bits on video and things like that. There was no internet, nothing like that. And he said we could get people together, show these rarities, but it had to be done so people could get there and get home in the day."
Yeah.
I think because I was a member of the tent by that time, and it was at Brannigan's in Manchester, wasn't it? Yeah. Down the stairs, and Chris said to me, "What I want to do is I want to get a 3-day convention into one day, because a convention costs a lot of money, as the sons know."
Everybody loves conventions once they've been, but not everybody can afford it, can they? So you've got to bear that in. Plus the fact, if you've got a couple of little kids or whatever, and you're taking all this money out of your holiday budget, and it's very selfish for a guy to go off to a convention on his own. So yeah, no, it was a brilliant idea of Chris's. It really was a genius.
We'd only just started meeting at Wigan, because I'd joined that tent having met Chris at the convention at Haydock. Yeah. And Chris invited me to the tent, and then Chris said, "Would you like to start a tent in your own town? Can you find anywhere?" I thought beer engine, because I already drank in the beer engine, and I knew the landlord, Chris and John Moran. So I said, "Yeah, I'll sort it out." So we'd only met there a couple of times, and the next thing we're putting this big convention on, well, the one-day convention, the Laurel HarDay.
Brilliant.
And I think it was going to be in summer, wasn't it? And then we changed the date for some reason. I can't remember.
The beer engine had a fire.
So Chris then decided we were going to do it the first Saturday of September or September, and that's it. And now we're stuck with it.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant, honestly. The thing I love about the HarDays is most people go to conventions now, we all do, but when you get there, it's sort of slow to start. But when you come to a HarDay, everybody knows it's such a short time. Yeah. It's a half a day, 3/4 of a day, and you really throw yourself into it, and you can have a lot of fun in those few short hours.
Yeah, there's a lot crammed into them, isn't there?
Just to prove you could do it in a day. It was either the first or second one, and Roger Robinson turned up, first time I met him.
Yeah.
And he turned up on the train from Southend, and he was waiting at a beer engine, and he helped me to put posters up on the wall and things like that. And he got home that evening. So.
Yeah. Would you remember going back to the first one, we're on about the beer engine, which was a real ale pub, which is why Chris picked that pub. And we had some real ales on. Yeah. Was it Finn's BDI?
Finn's BDI bitter and
Hardy Heavy, wasn't it?
I think BDI bitter was the second year.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, see.
Because we had
memories now.
We had Hardy Heavy and Stan Light. Yeah. That year.
Ah, that was it.
Yeah. Well, they were the beers that Chris came up with, and for the centenaries.
That's right. He bottled them, didn't he? Yeah.
What he did, he got a local brewery, a small brewery in Manchester.
Yeah.
A guy called Brendan Dobbin, who was a very good brewer, and he ran his own pub.
Yeah.
And Chris approached him about getting his own beer done, and he said it would be very expensive to do it, and you'd have to buy loads of it, to make it worth his while. But what he said, I can use one of my beers and I'll bottle it.
Relabel it.
And we'll relabel it.
Yeah.
So, did the first one, Laurel Light. And then 2 years later, for Ollie Sentin, we did a dark beer called Hardy Heavy.
But Chris, I like with Chris Coffey, it was all around beer. And it was good fun. I mean, nobody ever gets blind drunk and naughty at Laurel and HarDay.
No. There's never any bother. That's the beauty of the Sons. There's never any bother.
Yeah. I think if Chris wasn't as ill as he is now, I mean, after I left the police, I went working in a brewery. I could get as many beers as we wanted made. And I think when we did the convention at Airdok, we had some commissioned beer there. Steady Susie.
Yeah. Lovely.
But we've had the BDI bitter, and then one year we had the Tiger beer, didn't we? Walter Long Tiger bitter.
The thing was, Chris was just full of ideas.
Yeah, he obviously was. It really was.
So creative with his ideas, and the way Laurel and Hardy worked was.
It was good that he got all he got the rare footage up as well, didn't he?
You know, David Wyatt coming up with the rare footage, and it was really
and Douglas used to come as well, didn't he? Douglas
did some presentations.
Well, it's like you said, in the early days, we didn't have the internet. We couldn't access this stuff. So Chris would have his contacts and ring round and say, can you bring this, can you bring that? And he'd say, like, such is what he's got this clip, they're bringing it, they're going to show it.
Well, Douglas brought that Haji Ali clip.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
which is now available on DVD. It's been available for years, but hardly anybody had seen it then.
That's right.
It was in the foreign versions of films, which most people didn't have.
No, that's true.
Going back to that very first Laurel and Hardy, we had Bill Cuban was there.
Yeah.
And it was in the 1993, the very first Laurel and Hardy, that he announced there was going to be a statue of Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
So I think that was a good coup for us.
Yeah, it was. Whenever I think of the statue, I always relate it to Laurel HarDay's, because Bill used to come every year, like you say, Gary, and he used to give us an update, and he used to sell. He could sell sand to the Arabs. Bill, phenomenal guy. I miss him like hell. But it was all because of Bill's driving force, and you know he fell into ill health, obviously. But it's his driving force that we all got it behind it and did it.
Yeah. And that's when the statue appeal began, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At the first one we had a question and answer thing right at the beginning, and Nancy Wardell came along, didn't you?
Remember Neil Hamilton had just done all the controversy of cash for questions in Parliament, and I came up with this panel idea, and I said there's Laurel Hardy experts and Dave Wyatt will be answering and people were people were giving 50p to ask Dave Wyatt a question. Do you remember the Where's Saddam as well? I came across it the other week. I did a map, you know, the spot the ball.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Saddam.
And everybody had to pay 50p and put a cross on Where's, and we gave it all to MI5 and they passed it on to the American Secret, and then shortly afterwards Saddam was captured. So we've played our part there in international peace.
Well, I think at our first meeting, I think there were over 70 people attended. It was really good attendance.
Yeah.
And quite a few came from Birmingham, I think.
Even when we were in the doldrums, we were getting like 60 people here. So it's always been a well attended.
It averages that about now, high 60s, mid 60s.
You tend to see a lot of the same faces every year.
Yeah.
It's a return event. It is
it's an annual event. You want to hold it, make it an annual event.
Should we make it an annual event?
I think we should now. After 30 years, I think it's time.
I think we should make it an annual event.
I think we should.
Oh, Chris decided it was an annual event on the first. He enjoyed the first one so much.
He hinted at it right at the end. He said there's a reasonable chance it could be an annual event.
Yeah.
And then it was the year after, and he was wearing this T-shirt. And he was sat over the corner of the
that corner, that corner.
Yeah, that corner, not this same place, but he was over there.
Ray Saunders and Simon Wolfe were here.
That was the first one.
Was that when they did the driving licence sketch?
No, they didn't do that. Eric did that with Stan Slade and Neil Whittingham.
When we knew we were going to do it, I wrote to a few American police forces, and I got the actual chest badges and the shoulder patches of Harlem Police. And I've got a lovely letter from the chief of the Harlem Police saying, please treat them with respect. And I told him what we were going to use them for. And my mate's in the fire service, and I got a fireman's hat, you know, like the peak cap, and I put the police badge on it, and I've got a blue shirt, and my missus sewed the patches on. Really good.
Well, Chris had a phone call from me on the Tuesday after the Laurel HarDay.
Yeah.
We had a Laurel HarDay on Saturday. Tuesday night, phone call from John McCabe.
Yeah.
Here you've been doing the driver's licence sketch without permission.
Who's the snitch?
Well, that's what we, you know, there was a John McCabe. There was a John McCabe spy in our midst.
We got a snitch amongst us.
Yeah, snitchers.
Turning double crossing snitcher. Why, if I ever meet up with him and I have my knife.
Well, you mentioned Ray Saunders and Simon Wolfe. They did a sketch before the driver licence sketch, and it was the standing on my foot routine that you see. And then they did the at the ball dance.
Yeah.
And they said that was the first performance when they did it at the beer engine that they'd ever done of it.
Yeah.
And they did a cracking job of that.
Fantastic.
Great memories.
And Ronnie led the Loyal Toast.
And when
Ronnie
Dunn led that Loyal Toast, there was a lot of feedback going on with the amp, because there was always feedback, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And then this is where Norman got his Stormy Norman name from. He was just turning into Jimi Hendrix on the stage.
He's always been a bit of Jimi Hendrix.
Speaker feedback.
Yeah, back then in the early days, we was at the beer engine till like midnight.
Till you fell out the door.
It's like a 6 o'clock cut off now, and we're out and done.
Yeah.
And back then, that's why we all got so drunk, I think, back then.
That's why we can't remember. You need to write it down. Because we used to retire into the lounge then, didn't we?
Yeah.
Sit near the big fire and just get absolutely hammered on.
Drank till we dropped. And the second one in 1994, we had AJ Marriott made an appearance because he had his British Tours book out.
Yeah.
And he did a long talk, didn't he, about his book and the tours. It was about 2 It was a very 2 hours. We wouldn't do a 2 hour talk these days, would we?
No. The beauty of the beer engine is when AJ got up and did that talk, we could all go in the other room for a beer.
The bar taking shot up.
And by 1994, the statue had been given planning permission.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we had
to place it in a back street near a toilet block. Bill wanted somewhere better.
I've always associated the statue with the HarDay because it really is involved in the evolution of the statue.
We pushed it a lot, didn't we?
Oh yeah, yeah. And we used to raise money here a lot for the statue. Yeah.
Most of the money raised went to the statue in those days, because I remember pushing it and throwing loads of money in it.
Going back to 94, we've got to mention the legendary annual event comment interview with Chris Coffey.
That's right.
He decided in 94 it was going to be an annual event.
It's an annual event. Definitely. It's an annual. It's got to be. It's an annual event.
So in 95, wasn't it? Sky
came along and they did like a news bulletin on us.
That's right.
And it was outside the beer engine singing our song. I didn't get in on that because I was filming it as well.
Yeah.
So. But one thing I found funny about that was it was on at 6 o'clock on the Saturday evening on Sky News, and we were still in the beer engine.
We were still in the beer
doing
engine.
the Laurel HarDay.
So watching it.
That got on the news before we'd even got home. I thought, that's brilliant. That.
He says that newly discovered fire scene from Pardon Us. Was that the fire at the prison?
No, the fire engine,
That was a new reel they found, wasn't it? That was never on the original VHS.
Dave Wyatt had unearthed the footage from the 106th film.
Now I'll tell one.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. In them days, you only got clips if someone brought them along.
Yeah, a little bit of film, and it wasn't. Yeah.
There was no YouTube back then.
Yeah, no YouTube. And we watched it on 16mm.
That's right. Clickety, clickety, clickety.
Chris had his big projector at the back of the room.
It was great, Chris getting Dave White to come up virtually annually.
Yeah.
He used to come up with some amazing stuff.
We had to keep moving venues to get rid of Dave, didn't we? But eventually we got rid of him.
He doesn't know where he is.
He doesn't know where we are.
He turns up at Bryn Labour Club.
Yeah, he's still at the Bryn Labour Club.
Him and Mr. E.
Do you remember 1996 when Chris didn't release a flyer or tell anybody what was going on, and he was making everything as a surprise on the day?
And it was still entertainment.
I think that was the year when he went, Ian, Yeah, Chris. You're in charge of the raffle, said great, Chris. Where's the prizes? Anyway, Ian, I've just put you in charge of the raffle. What's this, mate? Ian, sketch that never was.
You was going to do a sketch. I've got an interview with you where you'd had a few. And apparently you and your mate, I think it was Joey, was going to do a sketch. You'd come with this cardboard plank thing.
Oh, I was wondering which you
and you'd shave your tash off. You said we'd been out that before and accidentally shave your ollie tash off.
Yeah,
and you had to draw
it in, yeah.
But I don't know what that sketch was going to be, do you?
I can't remember that.
But Ian doesn't either, and he was in it.
I wrote it and directed it and forgot all about it.
Yeah.
I saw the pictures we were looking at earlier on of me and Joey dressed up. We walked it all the way from our house. So it was about a 3-mile walk through Wigan with this blanket. Oh, I caused some chaos with that because people would shout hello and I'd turn around with it on my shoulder and I'd crack about 4 heads outside CNA. CNA was still there then.
That dates it as well.
Yeah, straight through the middle of Wigan we walked with that.
Stan Slade and Jim McClure did 2 sketches.
Yeah.
And I remember Stan on his unicycle, juggling on his unicycle.
Because Stan did training as a juggler, didn't he?
He did.
He did, yeah. He's an accomplished juggler.
I always remember it because I was in Benidorm a couple of years ago. I was in this bar and this bloke came straight through on a unicycle juggling on it. Been there, done that, mate.
Yeah.
Seen it. Yeah, seen a real one.
Oh yeah, 1997, Princess Diana's funeral.
Yeah, it was the day of the funeral, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, the Laurel HarDay was on that day.
Yeah.
Is that why
Wigan.
she didn't turn up? Is that what it was?
That was something to do with it.
Any excuse not to turn.
We invited quite a few of the roles that day. None of them turned up because that's the year we planned a bit of a procession because we'd found out that Laurel and Hardy had been to Wigan and they'd been to the speedway track, and the speedway track was at the back of the beer engine, and I'd got some old maps and plotted it so I knew exactly where it was. We were going to go down a parade of tents and then this happened, of course, so we couldn't really be marching around the streets blowing trumpets.
No, maybe not the best, no.
We still went out.
So we went out and we just like had a walk down and we just said, well, I was saying like this is where the track was and this is where they would have been, and
A little bit sombre.
it was a little bit sombre that.
It was a funny atmosphere that.
Maybe Charlie Cobb wasn't very pleased because he was coming on a train from Manchester and the train stopped in the station and it stopped for 2 or 3 minutes during about...
Oh, the actual time was
about
it?
11 o'clock in the morning or something. And he was sat there reading his paper wondering why the train was making him late to get to the Laurel and HarDay.
I've got a hard day to get to.
Also in '97, the Professor Theodore von Schwarzenhofen competition where we had to write on the competition sheet what the letters meant.
What the letters after his name meant, yeah.
And that was the year Harry Hoppy came, 1990.
Yeah, Harry did well. Harry enjoyed himself there. You could tell, couldn't you?
He had an amazing collection because he brought some film of his collection, didn't he?
I've been to his flat. I've been to his place in Dusseldorf. He has got tons of stuff. Really has.
Willie McIntyre's first HarDay.
Yeah, Willie McIntyre, man, he'd heard about the Laurel and Hardy.
So he's
Never looked back.
So he's not been to everything then.
Raffle funds for the statue, 2,717.
Yeah.
You know, for just a small gathering of people.
No, it was good. It was good.
That's a lot.
It really started coming as soon as the Sons got involved, you know, in mass, because Bill did it. Tim, a guy called Tim in Ulverston Tourist Board, and Bill set it up, Tim Rogers, and they hadn't really got their act together. But as soon as the Sons worldwide got involved, it was brilliant.
Everybody bought into that, didn't they?
Everybody did.
Yeah.
There was a big thing started in 1997, Ian. Can you remember?
I can see it.
Yes, the old easy nosy World Championship.
Certainly did.
That was
I'd seen all these other things, all the championships and world championships on TV, like the World Pie Eating competition and the World Worm Chairman competition. And I'm thinking, these people are claiming these, and you know, if it can get established, then it will become genuine.
Of course it will.
So I thought, I've never heard of an Easy Aussie World Championships. Perhaps if we can start this and get it established, it will become, in time, it will be recognised as
indeed it is.
As indeed it is, the official, recognised throughout the world as well.
Throughout the whole world.
The universe, because we have had intergalactical.
We did have an
winners,
intergalactical winner who we'll discuss later.
Yeah. So I thought, I'll do this. So I said to Chris, I'm going to do something really silly this year, Chris. Well, I said, I'm going to do the Easy Aussie World Championships. And Chris went, Chris is like, yeah, get on with it, we'll do it. So I went in the attic and found an old wrestling trophy, didn't I?
Wrestling trophy, yeah.
So I just stuck a badge over saying Easy World Championship, because it was
Paul Flynn.
Paul Flynn, wasn't it, who won it? And he said after I'd presented it, in the year after he went, he said, I was really pleased to be the first ever Easy Aussie World Championship. He said, but the badge fell off, and I realised I was the Wigan amateur wrestling champion from 1978 as well. Yeah. It was just some old trophy I'd found in the attic. So I thought, after that year, I started. I got a friend who makes trophies in Wigan. I thought I'll have a proper one done, and he keeps a record of all the trophies he's made now. Excellent. So I just go in now and I say, Ross, can you make us a Ross from Standards up the Ween? Very, very good for trophies and other guys.
But other manufacturers are available.
Not necessarily in Wigan.
Over the years, the trophies have developed,
and they maintain the quality.
They always maintain the quality. Quality, yeah. Never sacrifice quality.
We had no rules at the beginning.
No.
We had no judges apart from you.
Do we have rules now?
Well, a bit of a fashion.
I found that the rules are changeable.
Yeah.
I remember writing some rules one year about having exchangeable knees and
1999.
Was it?
It says here.
I remember writing them.
The silly rules were introduced.
Yeah. But then like I say, it evolved, because it was just me at the front with me and the slapstick. And then we decided I think it was Eric and I decided that we were going to get the Grand Sheiks to judge it. Yeah. And then it was just me. I just handed over to the Grand Sheiks, and then the sillier the rules got, the better the competition got.
And the more the people flocked to take part.
Yeah. And then again in '97 we had the Laurel Hardy Goes to the Moon, written by Roger Robinson.
Yeah.
Oh, that was done like a tag team sketch.
Willie Mack in a condom.
Can you say condom on video? Is that all right?
It's written down.
He had a spacesuit on, but somebody suggested it looked like he was wearing a condom. There's the picture. There's a picture now.
There's a horse in my corridor. Oh, a horse in my...
98.
First of all, the room was double booked by a wedding. So that pushed us into being out for 6 o'clock.
But we were still supposed to get the main events done by about, say, 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That was still what we were trying to do.
Yeah, the aim,
But we used to some of us who didn't have to travel too far, did like to extra few.
Well, like I say, I think ever since then we've always tried, when we do the planning, get all the main stuff done by tea time. Then those who have travelled can get on the way, and those who can stay a bit longer will stay a bit longer, and those who are really greedy.
We did go to other rooms in the beer engine that night, didn't we?
One major issue that year, which you remember.
Yeah.
We was told by John McCabe that we were not sons anymore.
It's so funny that we're not sons anymore. And we all burst into songs.
The Sons of the Desert split, world split.
Oh, it's so funny, 'cause we're not sons anymore. Sons anymore.
It was all about the ITJ.
The Americans were going to go off on their own, and the rest of the world could do what they wanted.
But they had no problem with the rest of the world doing what they wanted.
He wrote to me and he said, form your own association, the English Sons of the Desert. And I wrote back to him, I said, no, we're in the Sons of the Desert.
When he announced it to the rest of the American sons, they didn't want anything to do with it.
Well, I got together with people like Del Kempster, and I got together with a few of them, like Wolfgang and people like that. And I said, we'll call it the Acorn Group. And I was going to call it the International Sons of the Desert. And I got loads of people writing to me from America saying and of course it just fizzled out because John McCabe just didn't really have people behind him, and they were all saying ignore him, he's just a...
But of course the only reason I joined Sons of the Desert is because it's got no rules.
That's
and
right.
no one has any authority. Because supposedly they asked Stan Laurel, who was still alive at the time.
He wrote the Constitution, didn't he?
He didn't want a fan club. He wanted with rules and whatever. He wanted an appreciation of Laurel and Hardy.
With half-assed dignity. I love that saying.
And I think that's the theme that runs through the HarDay, half-arsed dignity. And I like the way that anybody who gets up at any meeting or the HarDay, whatever, gets heckled. And is heckled in the right way. And you feel bad if you're not getting heckled.
£2, £2 once, twice, got £2.
I love heckling your quizzes.
Feel free. If people aren't heckling, why not? Feel free.
Talk about the half-assed thing. That's why I stand there, in a dinner jacket with a pith helmet on. That's my half-assed dignity. And if I'm not getting heckled, I'm not doing my job.
That's right. There's something wrong. Fundamentally wrong.
This is about the connection between Laurel and Hardy and Marilyn Monroe.
But everybody picked up on this wall he was in. That's that wall again there. You see this clip here? He's stood near that wall.
That's the wall,
It just become the wall talk.
Dave is an intense guy,
The
a great
Howell
guy.
studio wall.
But the Walter Long theme, was that the tiger bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, you had an obsession with Walter Long. Was that when you did the T-shirt as well? You had a Walter Long T-shirt or something.
Walter Long looked like my granddad. So I went through this bit of a Walter Long obsession because he just reminded me of both my granddads, really.
I'm surprised we had to wait till 1999 for Eric's first quiz.
Well, that was the thing. Was that your first quiz? Because I didn't have any record of any earlier quizzes.
I'll check. I'll have to check on that because I've got them all on my hard drive on the computer.
1999, Dougie Brown came down and did his talk about Stan's days in Glasgow and the Panopticon stuff. Another quite lengthy talk.
Went a bit long, that one, yeah. I think
that's what it was in the old days. There was a lot of talk.
A lot of talk.
Yeah.
We try.
I suppose that helped pad out the day as well.
It does pan out the day, but we kind of say no, 20-minute max, don't we? And
Yeah.
anything longer than that, you're losing people. Yeah.
It can go on a bit, can't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, 99 was when you introduced the easy Aussie rules, as we mentioned.
Judges and silly rules introduced.
And there was that bloke, and he was in a vest and some
Vest
very,
and underpants.
very short shorts.
It looked like he was in his vest and underpants.
Never.
I think it was you, Eric, throwing him out. You said you're not allowed to do easy Aussie in your underwear.
In your underwear.
That's a reasonable rule.
It was, yeah. It was
is a
very
reasonable
fair, that
rule,
one.
yeah.
I agree with that one.
Reasonable rule.
Yeah. Jumping forward to 2000, we were supposed to have Tommy Bond from Blockheads turning up, and he phoned in sick or something. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I met him at the 92 Las Vegas International Convention. Tommy Bond, he was there then.
I met him there as well.
He had a good laugh. When I met him in 92, it was a really good laugh. He really got into it. He loved being a star again.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. We picked a statue design from a choice of 6.
Well, Graham Everson, I've still got them all actually as original drawings, A4 size, and there's 6 different designs. Some of them are really good. You know, one's on a wall, and Babe sort of Stan's pushing Babe, and Stan's hand is trapped under one of Babe's feet and everything. You know, and really good. Great sketches, but when they were finally picked, we put it to the people of Ulverston, and they picked the one that we used. You know, the two of them leaning on the lamp. Yeah.
Whose idea was it to do Soak the Sheik? Was that yours?
Me. I built the Soak the Sheik. Yeah. I built it in the garage one day, and I thought there's got to be something. You know, a bit of to make people, because grand sheiks are stand up and get laughed at and shot down metaphorically.
That's dignity again, isn't it?
Soak the Sheik, it seemed to just catch on, the little phrase. So I made all the stuff, and as I say, we got a £1 for 3 wet sponges. So I went and bought sponges and a plastic bucket from B&Q, and we just soaked them in water. And I was saying earlier that I remember Paul Brodie, I was standing by somebody, some sheik had his head through the pick, you know, stuck through, and I was standing there, and of course Paul Brodie put his pound in the thing and got 3 sponges and threw them straight at me. My shirt was absolutely soaking.
Now the following year, 2001, the ticket price doubled.
Shot up.
From £5 to a tenner, and it put a few people off coming, but that was because of Chris's big special guest, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Ronnie Hazelhurst.
That was the big scoop, that one.
Because Chris spent £3,000 on setting up Ronnie Hazelhurst and his orchestra, his original, basically his original orchestra.
How many? Was there about 10 or 15?
Most.
Yeah, there's about 15 on stage, yeah. I don't know, we weren't allowed to video it.
But he had to...
oh, surely not.
He had to get a piano professionally set up as well, which cost money.
We had to get a piano set up, because every time you move a piano it has to be retuned. Yeah. I had to go and pick the piano tuner up, I remember it, and he was blind. Yeah. So I had to bring him to the beer engine. Yeah, he was blind piano tuner, and then Chris said to me, "He's not had his dinner, will you sort him out?" I said, "Who down? Get to Chris Dock behind the bar. Chris, this is the piano. He's come to tune the piano. So just give him what he wants. Just tell me how much I owe." Yes. He ready to tune piano now? Yeah, I'll go and tune the piano now. And then after he tuned piano, then I drove him back to the station and waved him off, and that was it. That was just like random piano tuner. But it was a cracking day. Like we were saying earlier on, weren't we? The quality of the music.
Well,
to hear it in the room when they struck up was amazing. When they struck
up playing, that's one of the finest sounds I think I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Chris worked on a loss that year, I think, didn't he?
Something of a loss, yeah.
Chris worked on a loss every year. The one thing about Chris was he was never bothered about the money.
That's what makes Chris happy. Yeah. Chris was always happy, and you see him on the Laurel HarDay. He sat there, he was king of all his suburbs.
And the fact that it's still going strong, it's all because of Chris. You know,
I spent a lot of time with Chris, and he never mentioned the money once.
No.
Yeah, you know, he never moaned about it or anything like that. He just wanted people to. He wanted to do it. He wanted Ronnie Hazelhurst here. He wanted to do this.
Yeah.
It was a goal for him, something to achieve, and if people got happiness from it, fantastic.
My claim to fame has been it's over the back of the head by Ronnie Hazelhurst, because he invited me on this.
I've still got the bruise.
Yeah. We just talk. It was why I was playing it. So I'd like to do a sing song now. And then his sons like to get on stage. And I'll sing Mr. Hazelhurst. So I got on stage and stop calling me Mr. Hazelhurst. My name's Ronnie. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Hazelhurst. And I think it was "Let Me Call You Sweetheart" or something like that we were going to sing. And he said, "Can you sing?" I said, "Yeah, I can sing." Not very good. No. But he never asked that. He never said, "Oh, you're a good singer." Just said, "Can you sing?" Yeah. Well, I said, in fact, Mr. Hazelhurst said, I range from A to C. I said, but he asked him to play it in A, keep it nice and low. "Oh, you know your music then, do you?" I said, "Well, I know about music, yeah." He said to singer, "Let me call you sweetheart." Bullshit, right? Ronnie's there. "Get off me stage, get off."
He's always been a perfectionist, that guy, hasn't he?
I think he might have just managed to kick me up the arse as well as I was leaving the stage.
Unfortunately, there's no live footage of that concert.
There is no live footage of that concert existing. Sad to say.
Well,
there's no live footage of me being hit over the head and kicked up the arse by Ronnie Hazelhurst.
There's no footage of that, but the concert itself, which is it's a strange thing. When I had my big, heavy Panasonic M10 video camera propped on a tripod on the day, I switched it off because I was told I couldn't film anything by Ronnie Hazelhurst. But when I got home and watched the tape, for some reason it had recorded bits.
Never.
Yeah.
These things happen.
You mean it was recording? You thought you'd switched it off, but you'd actually switched it on.
You said I'm going switching it off.
Yeah, I did. I switched it off, but for some reason.
Well, you inadvertently switched it on because you thought it was off, but you.
Yeah, tell me that again. So jump into 2002. Was the first milestone for Laurel Hardy. We was doing the 10 years, and we thought that was a big one.
Chris presented awards to several people who'd attended every year so far.
Did he? I never got mine.
I never got one.
I got one.
I didn't get one.
It's a good job we got these notes here to remind us of all this stuff.
Yeah, it's not as if we're reading off bits of paper.
No, we've definitely not been reading at all the way through this. So in 2002, the Avalon Boys.
They were good, weren't they? They were good.
Where did Chris find them? Can you remember, Norman?
They're from Altrincham, weren't they? But where he actually picked them up, I don't know.
We've now settled that.
No, they were good. It got a good sing-along going as well, didn't it? Yeah.
Doubloon. He was the singer.
Doubloon, yeah, because he contacted me years later to see if I can put the video footage together. He asked if there was any video footage, and I made a little Avalon Boys Shores of the Desert.
I bought the CD on the day, and I still play it, still listen to it. Songs of the Desert.
Yeah, it's good.
Cracking CD.
Some good stuff. And then they came back again the year after in 2003.
Yeah.
Which was when Chris did his sci-fi connection speech and presentation. I think with that, he was showing full episodes of things rather than put the clips in.
That's right.
I don't know, at the time he was losing interest with the audience. Like a full episode of Avalon Farm and a full episode of Red Dwarf. But it was a good idea.
Yeah, just put the clips in though. That's how it's evolved, though, isn't it? That's how Laurel HarDay has evolved.
That's again, it's Chris's imagination.
I think at this stage we're still serious Laurel Hardy fans here.
Yeah.
But getting sillier.
Encouraged to be sillier.
Yeah. We had our first intergalactic winner. Yeah. Apparently he might be coming back this year.
Is he bringing a friend?
Possibly.
Douglas Brownell.
We did, didn't we?
We had the meeting before that HarDay in 2003. The landlady had asked if we was putting a guest beer on, I think, or was it? I can't remember now, but we was asked to design a guest beer, so we came up with this Douglas Brown Ale, rather than Newcastle Brown Ale.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Ugly Dougly was
Ugly Dougly was
Ugly
Dougly beer.
2 pints of Ugly Dougly.
And there's a river name after him in Wigan.
There is, the River Douglas,
Douglas.
2004, double book with a wedding for the third time.
It was getting a bit annoying now.
Become a rhythm, didn't it?
Yeah. We need you out, we got a wedding.
Yeah, 2004 was the first year that we had like a game show going on. And Roger Robinson did the Missing Link.
And look, it's so good. Roger looked really good.
Roger's first attempt at cross-dressing.
I thought it was a real woman, mate.
It came out 2 weeks before, didn't he?
It was Tony Bagley after when he got kicked out. He said,
I think it was a bit of a fix. I should have won. But the best thing is, in the morning, Anne will still look like Norman Leigh' mother.
Really disappointed because I'd been buying him flirtinis all night as well, fancy my chances. And then all was revealed.
That Missing Link though, I remember I was on stage filming it, and the questions were really difficult. They was to the standard of the actual weakest link. Because we scrapped that idea, didn't we? We wanted our questions to be silly.
We stole the idea. I think Roger's cast the die.
Yes, he did.
He set the standard, and we lowered it.
Got it way down to our level.
But it was Roger who sowed the seed for future Laurel and Hardays.
And Michael came from Germany to promote the
Michael Smith
European convention. The following year.
Yeah, I'll never. We were selling. Michael came over, and so did Matthias. Matthias Gunther came, and we were selling at the time. I'd bought a load of tankards for the statue appeal, and we were selling them. And of course, with the beer flowing, you have the need to go to the little room every now and again. I said to Matthias, there was about £1,000 in the box. I think I ended up selling all the tankards, and there was about £1,200 raised for the statue appeal, a fortune. I remember giving Matthias the box with all the money in, and I said, Matthias, keep an eye on that money. And I said, there's Germans in the room. And he hugged the. I said, Germans? And he looked around like people who tell me Germans don't have a sense of humour. The way he did it, he hugged it and he said, Germans? And he looked around the room. That was so funny. Lovely guy.
And then we had, following you, 2005, Denise and Linda Caldwell.
Denise and Linda,
They just opened the museum in Harlem.
They were just going on the way past.
Anton Hypes came along from Amsterdam. I think he was promoting a convention as well, wasn't he? It's a good thing with the HarDay. It's a good place to promote.
Your convention.
That's right, yeah, it is.
2005, Norman, Chris got Jean Darling over
Genie Rena.
To start first of about 3, I think it was, or 4 HarDays.
I think Bram Reinhout had her over at Roll Duke, didn't he?
He did.
And I think that's how Chris got to find out her contact. But yeah, she was in Dublin, and it sort of revitalised her career.
I remember having a few good chat. Just go and sit in with her, having a chat with her.
She was great. She'd chat to anybody.
She enjoyed the Laurel Hardy environment and the atmosphere of that.
Chris got her over, and part of it was she was the
socialising.
And she'd socialise with anybody.
She's a real character, Jean, wasn't she?
Yeah.
2006, we went to the beer engine for the final time.
Yes.
When we all arrived, it was raining. And we was locked out, do you remember?
We was locked out, we all stood there queuing up.
I was stood outside with Chris for half an hour in the rain,
They forgot we'd booked it.
It had just changed hands at the time, hadn't it? New landlord, landlady. And we could see, I think, at the previous meeting, the Bacon Grabbers meeting, that things were changing.
Yeah.
Because when we got in, there was the like stale butties from the night before.
That was it. You said, "Have you got any food on?" She said, "No, we've got these butties, and they're obviously from the night before." She's trying to sell them to us.
Oh, lovely.
Well, when we got in, when they finally turned up, when we got in, they'd not cleared up from the night before.
No.
We had to tidy the room up for them before we could start.
Yeah. And the bells were ringing then, weren't they?
Yeah.
It was,
It was only a couple of weeks after we'd done the HarDay that the beer engine closed.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then we was left with the job of finding somewhere new for the following year.
So in 2007, Morris Street Club.
It was still handy because it was close to the town centre.
It was, that's what we wanted. It was a town centre location, big carpet. They did food, I think.
But I remember, once we moved to Morris Street, Chris used to invite his guests and they'd stay in the Oak Hotel. And then we'd have the Friday night meal, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Because at the time I only lived just up the river, about 5-minute walks. It was ideal for me. I could just walk down and meet everybody.
And then after 14 years, we've got 46,000 in the statue account.
It really was doing well, the statue appeal. But I liked all the stupid things. Remember, I got Tony Bagley to draw 2 pictures. I came across them the other week when I was cleaning some stuff out. One of Tony's wonderful drawings of the statue, and then next to it I said, could you do one with horrendous differences on it? And Tony did like a seagull sitting on Stan's shoulder and a tortoise going past and the Titanic going down in the background, and I sent them out and it was so funny because the idea was you had to the artist has cleverly concealed 10 differences in the pictures, and you had to send a check for £1. Well, £200 it raised. 200. People were sending them in, and I also did a tiebreaker. I like the Runcorn Widnes Bridge because, and you had to complete the sentence. And I'll never forget. Mandy's lovely mum won it. And she put Pat Finney, and she said, I like the Runcorn Widnes Bridge because it's the iron in it. so I get, and the prize was a picture of the Runcorn Widnes Bridge, which she kept, and she still got apparently. 2008
is the only one that I didn't attend for various reasons. Well, for one reason, I got banned. But we won't go into that. That was also the year that Chris announced he was stepping down after 16 years. He wasn't doing any more Laurel HarDays.
Well, it was big enough to run on its own then, wasn't it?
It had gone on too long now, and people enjoyed themselves, and we couldn't say no.
No, you can't say no.
No, we had to keep it going.
The disappointment's in their faces if you'd said no.
I remember you phoning me because you said, Dave, intense face. It said you got to keep it going. You got to keep it going.
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
I just remember Chris Coffey doing an announcement saying this is going to be the last Laurel HarDay, and there was
no.
And then a few minutes later there was, we're going to carry it on.
Yay! Of course we are.
You'd phoned me, hadn't you?
Of course we are.
A couple of weeks before we'd just set up Dirty Work tent because of all what was going on in the background.
You want to take it over and carry it on?
Yeah, you phoned me, didn't you, and said, can we carry it on next year? I thought, well, we've got no money. So David Wyatt's got to find his own way up. As does Gene Darling.
As you say, because Chris was subsidising it ridiculously.
Well, that was the thing, but But again, Dirty Work took it over and reinvented it.